The end of the Matteo Binotto era at Scuderia Ferrari was meant to be heralding in plenty of change and bring in what should have been a new wave of optimism for Formula One's oldest team. However, we're only one real race into the tenure of Fred Vasseur, the new man in charge, and already there are plenty of credible whispers of things not quite being as good as they seem. Now, obviously, some of that is down to the fact that Ferrari struggled in the F1 season open at Bahrain. With Ferrari, the oldest team, the most successful team in the sport, the old adage of nothing quite selling like success than success itself is very, very true. However, what also must be acknowledged with Ferrari is that they have had a long-standing history of politics and internal backbiting coming back to haunt them. So we're going to be looking at what exactly the allegations are that are being made, whether there's any credibility to it, and why it is that Ferrari, should be told, need to break out of this cycle if they are to actually be competing for world championships on a regular basis again. But before we talk about that, let's first get into the heart of the issue itself. The major thing that it is worth talking about is that obviously at Bahrain, they only managed to collect 12 points because, well, Charles Leclerc ended up retiring from the race and Carlos Sainz could not actually hang on to the spot of a podium spot. He ended up finishing only 4th and therefore, he ended up getting only 12 odd points. Leclerc unfortunately had to retire with something that Ferrari were all too familiar with, an engine issue that stopped him dead on the tracks. And what's worse is that him actually, that engine issue which was hampering him there has caused him to take a 10-place grid penalty at Saudi Arabia. So things really are probably going to get worse for him and Ferrari before they get better. But what is happening behind the scenes, that is something that's key. Because there's plenty of question marks over what exactly Ferrari are going through right now. David Sanchez, who held a key role at the organization, has quit, and that's a major red flag as far as Ferrari's organization is concerned, because it is leading to a lot of turnover between the eras of Binotto as well as the current one of Vasseur. CEO Benedetto Vigna has also been questioned for his involvement or over-involvement in certain aspects of running the race team, and there were plenty of reports that Leclerc spoke directly to John Elkann. Now, who's John Elkann, you'd be asking? He is the president of Ferrari. And when I say president of Ferrari, I don't just mean Ferrari, the racing team. John Elkann is the president of Ferrari, the organization as a whole. So understand that Leclerc speaking to someone at that higher position has serious implications. Now, of course, Leclerc has come out and denied that he directly spoke to Elkann, but he is going to do that in public if he wants to actually maintain a united front. What's happening behind the scenes? Well, that's something that, we never really know for sure, but it does seem like there is a little bit of turmoil, and that's not really ideal for the new man in charge, Fred Vasseur. Truth be told, a lot of these issues that are actually taking place right now, not really directly related to Vasseur, or rather to things that he can over-handedly control. But it will, of course, be a hindrance rather than a help, for the very simple reason that you don't really want your, new tenure at a new team to be dominated by talks of unrest or unhappiness this early out of the gate. Now, Vasseur came out after these allegations, gave an interview to the French press, and himself said that, look, this is not really ideal, but what can I do? It happens all the time. And what's more is that Vasseur himself was reported to be unhappy by the Italian media, something that he came out and confirmed in his interview to the French press. If you're wondering why the French press, is because Vasseur is a Frenchman himself, so he chose to give that interview in his native tongue. So plenty of things happening here. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of movement when it comes to Ferrari's top management. Vasseur himself is kind of being affected early on, and you can understand why, new man, you'd be wanting to get on with the job at hand, but things outside of your control are impacting your ability to do that. But that's nothing very new at Ferrari, because Ferrari is the only team currently in F1 that has taken part in every single season of the sport. It's the oldest team in the sport, but also the most political of all teams, because Ferrari, it's something of a matter of Italian national pride. So there is a lot of stock taken as to how well or badly the team is performing, and top level interference is nothing new. In fact, it's been an issue when it comes to Ferrari forever, throughout their existence. In fact, when Enzo Ferrari was alive, he would encourage such political backbiting because he felt it would bring out the best of those people if they were kept on their toes. Obviously, times have changed, and modern people might react differently. And what's more important is that recent history has shown that the organizations in Formula One who have the most success are ones that have minimal top-level interference. So Red Bull Racing are a successful organization because Red Bull, the energy drink, their parent company, doesn't really interfere in the day-to-day organizations. Mercedes won 7 World Drivers' Championships and 8 World Constructors' Championships because Daimler, which is of course the parent company of Mercedes, doesn't really interfere in the day-to-day running of the team as much as, say a Ferrari does with Ferrari. They let the racing team get on with their business, and what happens then is that leads to these teams kind of being run as independent entities rather than be beholden to the whims and fancies of a board of directors who can change their minds often. Yet with Ferrari, that's really always been the way of running. Top-level interference has in fact been part of their history. In fact, there is a rather famous quote that exists about Ferrari, is that if you stand outside Ferrari's factory, you'll wonder how it is that they don't win every race. But if you stand inside the Ferrari factory, you'll be wondering how it is that they win any. That's just the level of political interference and turmoil that can beset the organization. And it's no coincidence that a lot of their success has come when they've had strong figures at the helm, people who are allowed to get on with the job at hand rather than worry about politics. Vasseur needs to impose himself as being someone similar. Whether or not he can do that is another story, but it is imperative to his success or lack thereof at Ferrari. Thank you guys so very much for joining us for this video. If you enjoy our work, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and download the AajTak app as well. If you're already on the channel, please go ahead and check out some other videos we've done. For now though, from my side, goodbye.